Imagine standing on a quiet road just after sunrise, no voices around, no notifications buzzing, no rush. Just you, the sound of your own footsteps, and a strange feeling of freedom that you can't fully explain. Have you ever felt that pull? That moment when life becomes loud, routines start swallowing your days, and even the people you love can't hear the thoughts you keep buried inside? Sometimes, you don't travel alone because you're escaping something. You travel alone because there's a version of you waiting to be found on the other side. And in the next few minutes, I'm going to take you through the exact moments that made me realize why I sometimes need to pack a small bag, step out the door, and disappear into a new place, all by myself. But before I take you there, let me tell you how it all began. You know, people often ask me, why would you travel alone? Doesn't it get lonely? And honestly, the first time I asked myself that same question, I wasn't sure I had a good answer. All I knew was that I felt overwhelmed. Life had become a loop, same conversations, same expectations, same to-do lists over and over again. Have you ever felt like you were moving but not really going anywhere? That was me. I reached a point where everything felt blurry, like I was losing my sense of direction, losing the sound of my own voice. And one day, without any dramatic moment, without any big plan, I just felt this sudden need for space. Space to breathe, space to think, space to listen to myself again. So I decided to do something different. I booked a ticket, a place I had never been, a place where nobody knew me, where I could walk freely without anybody expecting anything from me. And trust me, I wasn't trying to be brave or adventurous. I was just trying to feel alive again. I wanted to wake up and choose what I wanted to do, even if that meant just sitting by a window and watching the world move. I wanted silence. I wanted clarity. I wanted to test myself, challenge myself, and maybe even meet myself in a way I never had before. And that's how the journey began. Not from excitement, but from a simple whisper inside me saying, go, just go. There's a point in life when everything looks perfectly fine from the outside, but on the inside, things feel a little blurry, a little heavier than usual. That's exactly where I found myself. I was surrounded by people, surrounded by noise, surrounded by responsibilities that kept piling up, yet somehow I felt disconnected from myself. I wasn't unhappy, but I wasn't fully present either. Days started blending into each other, the routine became predictable, and even the things I normally enjoyed felt like items on a checklist. Maybe you felt that too. It wasn't dramatic, it wasn't explosive, just a quiet realization that I couldn't hear my own thoughts anymore. One evening, I remember sitting by my window, watching cars move under warm streetlights. And something inside me whispered, you need space, you need time. It wasn't about running away. It wasn't about avoiding people. It was simply about finding a quiet corner of the world where the chaos around me could finally fade, even for a moment. Where I could breathe without feeling rushed. Where I could think without interruption. And so, after weeks of that silent heaviness building inside me, I made a decision. Not a big dramatic one, just a simple choice. To pause everything and leave for a few days. Alone. The idea scared me at first. What if I didn't enjoy being alone? What if something went wrong? What if all this peace I was looking for never came? But then I asked myself, what if it does? What if this is exactly what I need? That tiny question, that tiny spark, pushed me to take the first step toward my first solo trip, without knowing it would change the way I see myself forever. The first day of a solo trip is never as glamorous as it looks in travel videos. It's actually awkward, confusing, and strangely loud, even if no one is talking. I remember stepping out of the airport and feeling this mix of excitement and fear crash into each other inside my chest. There I was, completely alone, dragging a small suitcase through unfamiliar streets. And suddenly, every small thing felt bigger than it should be. Finding the right bus. Figuring out directions. Talking to strangers. Even ordering food felt like a challenge because there was no one beside me to lean on, no one to laugh with if I messed up. I kept thinking, what am I doing? Why did I come alone? It was in those first few hours that doubt tries to creep in. Your mind races. Your heartbeat feels louder. And you start noticing every tiny mistake. But here's the truth. Those uncomfortable moments are the exact reason solo travel is so powerful. When there's no one to make decisions for you, you learn to trust yourself. When there's no one to follow, you learn to lead your own steps. I remember sitting in a cafe that first afternoon, feeling unsure. But then something shifted. I realized I had actually figured everything out on my own so far. I made it to the hotel. I found food. I navigated the streets. I survived the moment I feared the most, the beginning. And slowly, that fear turned into pride. That confusion turned into curiosity. The first day alone tests you. It makes you question yourself. But once you pass through it, once you survive that internal storm, the journey unfolds in a way you've never experienced before. And you start realizing, I can do this. I really can. Traveling alone has a way of holding up a mirror to your true self. Not the version you show the world. Not the version shaped by expectations. But the raw, unfiltered version of you that you rarely get to meet. On one of my solo mornings, I remember walking through quiet streets before the city was fully awake. There was no plan, no schedule, no rush. Just me and the sound of my footsteps. And for the first time in a long time, I could actually hear my own thoughts. Clear, calm, honest. Solo travel teaches confidence in the most unexpected ways. Like the moment you handle a situation you didn't plan for. A wrong turn. A missed train. A place that looks different than the pictures. You start realizing you're capable of solving more than you give yourself credit for. You learn to stay calm, to think, to adapt. And that confidence doesn't fade when you go home, it becomes part of you. It also teaches clarity. When you're alone, there are no overlapping voices, no external distractions. You start noticing what truly makes you happy, what drains you, what excites you. You begin understanding yourself on a deeper level. I found clarity sitting beside a lake one evening, watching the sun slowly disappear behind the mountains. That quietness felt like a conversation with myself that I didn't know I needed. And then there's freedom, pure, unfiltered freedom. The ability to choose your path without negotiation. To stay longer somewhere simply because it feels right. To try something new without worrying about anyone else's opinion. It's liberating. But the biggest lesson? You learn that you are enough. Your own presence can be comforting. Your own company can be enjoyable. And the world feels completely different when you navigate it on your own terms. When you travel with others, you tend to stay within a comfortable bubble. But when you travel alone, something magical happens, you become more open, and the world becomes more open to you. I didn't realize this until I started meeting people I never would have crossed paths with if I wasn't alone. Strangers who turned ordinary moments into unforgettable memories. One morning, I got lost trying to find a local viewpoint. While standing at a confusing crossroad, an elderly man noticed my puzzled look. Instead of just giving directions, he walked with me, pointing out little details about the place, hidden alleys, his favorite cafe, stories only a local would know. That spontaneous connection made the journey richer. Another time, I ended up sharing a table in a crowded breakfast spot. What started as polite small talk turned into an hour-long conversation about dreams, fears, and the beauty of choosing adventure over comfort. We were from different backgrounds, different lifestyles, but for that moment, our stories met. The most interesting encounters aren't always deep. Some are simple. A shop owner recommending a place only locals go. A traveler sharing tips from their own solo journey. A group of hikers inviting me to join them for a short trail. These tiny interactions became highlights I still remember today. Being alone doesn't isolate you, it connects you. When you're by yourself, you notice more. You listen more. People approach you more easily. And you end up experiencing humanity in a way you rarely do in your everyday routine. These moments reminded me that the world isn't just made of places, it's made of people. And sometimes, the most meaningful conversations happen with someone you may never see again, but who stays in your memory forever. Solo travel isn't just about challenges or lessons, it's also filled with small, beautiful joys that you can't plan for. Moments that happen naturally, without expectations, without coordination, without compromise. One of my favorite joys is waking up whenever I want, with no one rushing me. There's something peaceful about opening your eyes and thinking, what do I feel like doing today? And knowing the answer can be anything. One day, I planned to visit a landmark. But halfway there, I saw a quiet path leading into a forest. It looked inviting, so I followed it. No reason. No schedule. Just curiosity. That path led to a hidden viewpoint overlooking an empty valley. There was no crowd, no noise, just wind and sunlight. I sat there for over an hour, simply absorbing everything. That moment wasn't in any guidebook. I found it because I allowed myself to wander. Another unexpected joy is realizing how strong your instincts are. You choose restaurants based on a feeling and end up finding some of the best meals of your life. You turn left instead of right and stumble upon a beautiful street you never expected. You take a last-minute boat ride and watch a sunset that feels almost unreal. And then there's the joy of doing something just for you. Taking photos the way you want. Eating at the pace you prefer. Spending an entire afternoon reading by the water. You create your own rhythm, your own story. The best part is that these small joys stay with you. They remind you that life isn't always about big plans or perfect timing. Sometimes, the most meaningful experiences come from letting go, being present, and allowing the world to surprise you, one step at a time. As freeing as solo travel can be, it's not always smooth. Some days hit harder than others. There are moments when the silence feels too heavy, when your thoughts echo louder than expected. I remember one night sitting alone in my room, feeling an unexpected wave of homesickness. Not because I was scared, but because being alone gives your mind a lot of space, sometimes more than you're ready for. There are also practical challenges. Getting lost. Miscommunications. Transport delays. Small mistakes that feel bigger because you're handling them alone. I once missed the last bus back to my stay. For a moment, panic rose in my chest. But after taking a breath, I figured out an alternative. And even though the situation was stressful, I realized something important. Every time you face a difficulty alone, you grow a little stronger. Loneliness is another part of the journey. Some nights feel quiet. Some meals feel silent. You notice the space next to you. You miss sharing moments. And that's okay. Solo travel isn't about pretending you don't need people. It's about learning how to be okay with yourself even in those quiet moments. But here's the beautiful part. These tough moments teach resilience. They teach patience. They teach emotional strength. You learn to comfort yourself, motivate yourself, encourage yourself. You realize you can face discomfort and still keep moving. And by the end of the trip, you look back and realize the difficult moments were just stepping stones toward a stronger version of you. Solo travel isn't perfect. And it's not supposed to be. Because it's the challenges, the ones that test you, that end up shaping you the most. The interesting thing about solo travel is that the real transformation often happens after you come back. You return to the same home, the same routine, the same responsibilities, but something inside you has shifted. You move differently. You think differently. You trust yourself a little more. One of the biggest changes is confidence. After navigating new places alone, the small challenges of daily life feel less intimidating. Decisions come easier. You stop doubting yourself so much. You start trusting your instincts, the same instincts that guided you on unfamiliar streets. Another change is clarity. When you spend days listening to your own thoughts, you learn what matters to you. You learn what drains you. You learn what inspires you. And that clarity doesn't disappear when the trip ends. It slowly influences your choices, your priorities, your goals. You also start appreciating people more. Not because you felt lonely, but because being alone highlights how much connection matters. You return with a deeper sense of gratitude for the relationships in your life. Routine becomes more meaningful too. You begin noticing small things you used to ignore: the morning light through your window, the familiar sound of your neighborhood, the comfort of your own space. Solo travel teaches you to pay attention. But the most powerful change is this: you realize you don't have to fear being alone. You understand that solitude can be healing, empowering, and comforting. You learn that spending time with yourself isn't something to avoid, it's something to value. And once you experience that, once you understand the strength that comes from being alone, you carry that confidence into every part of your life. There comes a moment at the end of every solo journey when you look back at everything you went through: the confusion, the quiet mornings, the unexpected smiles, the small victories, the moments that tested you, and the moments that changed you. And you realize something powerful: traveling alone wasn't really about the places you visited. It was about the person you discovered along the way. It was about the parts of yourself you finally had time to notice. The thoughts you finally had space to understand. The courage you found in situations you never expected. And the peace that slowly settled in, moment by moment, breath by breath. As I packed my bag on the last day, I remember feeling different. Lighter, clearer, stronger. Not because something dramatic happened, but because I allowed myself to step away from everything long enough to hear my own voice again. And that voice, the one I had ignored for so long, finally felt familiar. It felt steady. It felt like me. That's the real reason I travel alone sometimes. Not to escape life, but to reconnect with it. Not to avoid people, but to return to them with more presence, more understanding, more gratitude. If you're listening to this right now and you've ever felt the need for space or clarity or a breath of fresh air from your own thoughts, maybe this is your sign. You don't have to cross the world. You don't have to go far. You just have to start. A quiet walk, a short trip, a new place where you can meet yourself without interruption. Trust that pull inside you. It's there for a reason. And when you finally take that step, when you finally allow yourself to explore the world on your own terms, you might just discover what I did. Sometimes, being alone is exactly what you need to find your way back to who you are.